Pat Benner. I am, for the moment, for a week, an IPA at Wallops Flight Facility. That means I'm a teacher on loan. I've been there summers for about 4 years and full-time for the past 6 years as a educational specialist and as the internship point of contact. Next week, I retire from Somerset County Public Schools, and I just picked up a contract as the Director of Education Coordinator, and I'm really excited, so I'll be able to continue. And I'm happy that Cole's here today because he can jump in and fill in any gaps. I'm here to give you a very high-level overview of Wallops Flight Facility, the kinds of platform work that they do there, and maybe you'll see some connections with what you've been learning with what's available there. I'll close with a slide that just talks about some of the student opportunities that are available. Are there any Virginia educators here? Okay, and now I can try to gauge my audience. I wish I had known that there were university educators here. There are some programs that are specific for university educators, and I'll add that at the end as well. We're going to start off. Hopefully I don't mess this up. I'm notoriously bad with this kind of thing. We're going to start off with a short video that gives you a kind of preview of the platforms. This is the Range Control Center. Pretty brand new, maybe 3 or 4 years ago it was revamped, and many of our high school and undergraduate interns helped work on that. The C-130, our aircraft office does a lot of earth science and airborne science missions. One of our hangars, this is one of my favorite spaces. This is the Bloom, oh I'm sorry, thank you, now I don't have to yell. This is the Bloom Project Office. They do a lot of research, testing balloon materials, a lot of chemical work as far as the chemistry that goes into it, and a lot of that program management. The international flags indicate what international guests we have on base. I think this is the testing. Yeah, this is testing in F10. Call it the shake and bake room. This is a really cool place. This is where they integrate the parts of the Antares rocket and integrate the Cygnus payload that delivers supplies and materials to the International Space Station, whereupon the scientists and the astronauts load it up with their garbage, send it back to Earth where it becomes fireworks in the outer atmosphere. We have a launch, I think it's slipped till September, maybe early winter. We just had a launch this morning of student payloads on a smaller sounding rocket. And that's Flight Island. Yes, please.
So did you want to load some slides?
Yes, please.
Sure,
I have a PowerPoint.
Yep, so we can go back to
Just
right
pull
there.
that up. Yep, perfect.
See if it may be down here. Oh, there it comes. And we're going to go here. And then you can advance that way, or you can also use the clicker.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. What's really cool about Wallops Flight Facility, it's NASA's only owned facility. Other facilities like Johnson and Kennedy that you hear about, they're owned by usually one of the armed services, and NASA is a tenant, which gives us a little bit more control over our customer base. The history of Wallops is really cool. It used to be a naval base, and right around World War II, it was converted over to a NASA facility on the Eastern Shore, where a lot of the early rocket work happened. They used to launch rockets, probably 40 or 50 every year. They were just testing them. Some of the really neat things that you'll see here is one of the first rockets ever launched on the top right-hand corner. And then if you look down below, the little monkey, that is Miss Sam in Little Joe, which was part of the Mercury program to test the, I'm looking at my notes here, the escape system for the Mercury program. Wallops Flight Facility is a major industry on the eastern shore of Virginia, but it pulls from Maryland and all of our local area. Billions of dollars are invested there on Wallops Island itself as far as assets. We have a lot of tenants and personnel, the Navy, NOAA, which has an amazing weather monitoring station. We have a recent customer called Rocket Lab out of New Zealand, and they hope to start launching rockets almost every month. Pre-pandemic, they were supposed to get started, but the pandemic slowed things down. So within another year, they hope to be up and running. They just also purchased a huge production factory right outside of Wallops proper, outside the gate, where they'll be fabricating and composing those pieces for that effort. Wallops is a very large facility, 6,000 acres. This is the mainland base, we call it, and there are major airstrips, hangars, office buildings. We have the balloon lab. The Sounding Rocket program has a fabrication lab as well as the testing lab. Over on the island where we do our launches, it is very environmentally, I want to say, protected in one way. It's a sanctuary, but it's also threatened by sea level rise, particularly on the mainland side where you see the marshes. On the shoreline, they have replenished the sand to a very large extent. They first started out with groins and rocks, and then they found that that didn't weather as well after Hurricane Sandy, so they dredged a huge trench offshore and replenished that sand, and that seems to be faring much better. Over on the far side of the island, there are Navy assets. There are 2 mock aircraft carriers where the Navy does their training to qualify all of their personnel that work on the aircraft carriers. And then you see the horizontal integration facility here. There's further down the island, there's one of the oldest Coast Guard stations on the eastern shore, and it's abandoned now, and they're trying to figure out how they can restore it. Wallops has worldwide operations. For instance, the Balloon Program Office, although we don't launch on Wallops, they do all the planning and testing and mission management for that, but they launch all over the world, mainly in Antarctica, New Zealand, and Sweden, all across the globe. They take advantage of the upper level winds, and the longest duration balloon right now is the super pressure balloon, and that lasted 55 days circumnavigating the south. The Sounding Rocket program, right now, there are 3 major missions going on in Australia, where one of the first commercial launches in partnership with Australia Space Agency is going on, amongst other locations all over. Alaska, they do a lot of work on Aurora Borealis. They do a lot of remote launches wherever the science takes us. The Aircraft Office is one of my favorite programs. They do a lot of work in Earth system science. They monitor our Earth so that we can make better decisions about how to take care of our planet. One of my favorite missions is Operation Icebridge, which flew out of Wallops for about 10 years, and they measured ice up in Greenland and in Antarctica. The sounding rocket program right now does between 15 and 25 launches a year. They're called sounding rockets because back before technology was what it was today, you would take a sounding. For instance, if you wanted to find out how deep the water was in the ocean, you'd send a sounding rod or some sort of instrument down to find out how long it took for that sound to come back. Now, sounding rockets, they will go up and come back down, so the trajectory depends on how high the altitude goes. And that's Cole's area expertise. He could probably tell you more about that as well. We launched one this morning, like I mentioned earlier. There are high school programs called Rock On, RockSat-C, and RockSat-X, and all across the United States, Puerto Rico, and major universities. Students, they plan experimental projects. They apply to Colorado State University, and they get approved to come to Wallops pre-pandemic, and we had hybrid last year, and hybrid I'm sorry, that's wrong, I misspoke. Virtual last year, hybrid this year. They just arrived last week. We just launched today. The students build their payloads. They launch them. They launched this morning. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning. We launched at probably about 5:35. The rocket was retrieved around 8:30 and brought back to Wallops, and the students are unpacking their payload now and checking out their data. Really cool program. If you are interested in that, look up Colorado State University, look at the RockSat programs, and you can get your students signed up for that as well. Airborne science, like I said, most of our aircraft are refurbished military assets. They gut them, they retrofit them for whatever missions are coming up. They are maintained at Wallops, and we have quite a few aircraft assets. The P-3 does a lot of the airborne science missions, the C-130, and then there are other planes that do other sorts of work as well. Scientific balloons are much, much larger than most people think. You can fit a football stadium inside one of them when they're fully inflated. Most of the time, and they can carry up to 8,000 pounds. Most of the work they do looks out into the universe, measuring stars, electromagnetic activity on the sun, you name it, whatever the university folks like to do. It's a relatively low-cost way of getting your science done. There is a program called CubeSat, and there's a flyer in your materials that I gave you that describes that, where students can work on a project that can be launched on a sounding rocket or on a balloon, and they can get their data as well. The research range, I think of it kind of like the brains of the operation. It manages everything. It's got its nerve central in every part as far as safety, management, coordination with Virginia Department of Transportation, the Mars, the pad owners, they take care of and maintain the pad, the fuel farms, those sorts of things. So there's a lot of different entities that have to work together as a team to make those missions successful. Small satellites, they're all over the place. They're blowing up. They're anywhere from cubic units up to 6 or 8 cubic units down to the size of your telephone. Everyone's putting them up in arrays and constellations, pulling all different kinds of data from all over for lots of different kinds of customers. Now, education. There are what's called USEP, and that is a group of universities that participate in these programs like Roxette and other programs like that. In Virginia, we have a community college STEM faculty workshops that we work on. Virginia Space Coast Scholars, they'll be arriving next week. That's why I asked if there were any Virginia educators. Their Virginia Space Grant does an amazing job of supporting education and in coordination with Langley and with Wallops to provide wonderful experiences for their students. The student payloads I've already spoken to with Rock On, and HASP. HASP is another one where university students can plan projects and launch them in balloons. There's often extra space, so rather than that space go to waste, NASA would rather have that space well utilized with the student experiments and that learning experience can occur. HASP in particular does not have a lot of competition. So if you're even remotely interested in that, look up Louisiana State University, HASP, and you'll find that it's very easy to apply, and it's a great experience for students as well. Particularly with the solar eclipse coming up in 2024, the balloon program and universities all across the United States do a lot of work to check out that new science that we're learning from these solar events. Wallops also, if you're in Maryland or on the Eastern Shore, we've done workshops for teachers from Dorchester County down to Northampton in Virginia. Keep an eye on our website, and if you want to get on our mailing list, my business card is in the information that I provided for you. Feel free to just reach out to me, tell me you want to be on the distribution list, and we'll get information to you when those opportunities arrive. We're really looking forward to being back into the community. We've found that even with James Webb Space Telescope going up and the outreach that we've done for that and learning experiences we tried to provide for educators and students, people are just burnt out from virtual. We couldn't get the kind of response that we were looking for, but we're really excited about getting back out with our boots on the ground again. The program that I work with mostly is the internship program. And there are two types of internship programs. There's NASA STEM internship programs, and there's Pathways internship programs. Pathways is kind of like a co-op or work-study program, and undergraduate students, they'll work a semester, they'll go back to school for a semester, and they're considered civil servants, and that rolls them right into the career path and right in that career pipeline. Cole was an intern, I think the first year I worked with the internship program, and we are very proud to have our local students join us at Wallops, learn the ropes, find out what kind of opportunities are there, and the networking, the hands-on experience, and the opportunities that students are able to obtain with those authentic work experiences is invaluable. It is particularly for high school students. When you get your foot in the door, if you have a local student at the high school level, the probability of them being chosen for an internship is much higher because the application pool is smaller. At the undergraduate level, the competition is steep, but I encourage people to be persistent. If a student enters at the high school level, they've got that NASA experience under their belt, they have the references from their mentors, and if it's a small center like Wallops, they probably know mostly everyone, or somebody knows them as well. So you really start to build your reputation. They're all entry-level positions. Obviously, you have to have a solid educational foundation, whether it's the high school or at the undergraduate level or the master's level as well. We also have occasionally educator opportunities, so I highly encourage you to encourage your students to apply. And that's it from me, unless there is anything else that Cole would like to add. Anything high level that I missed? I guess you've already explained what you do there, have you? Would you like to hear what Cole does at Wallops? Cole helps us out every once in a while.
Thank you. So as she introduced, my name is Cole. And I am a former intern at Wallops. I started interning in 2013, I think. Set this up here.
That makes sense.
And,
The camera will follow you.
okay. Oh, okay, got it.
Yep.
Subtract it, okay. So I started there, I got my degree here. I was doing internships during the summer, getting my degree at UMES. And then after that, I got a job offer right out of an internship to be a RF communications engineer. Started with that, did all the traveling around the world like she was talking about. And then, push come to shove, my dad actually works over there. He moved on to a different job, so I jumped in his old job. So now I'm a network engineer for Wallops. So all those buildings, everything she was talking about, I touch every one of those buildings now. It's fun, it's exciting. What else?
What does a network engineer do?
So I'm responsible for all the Wi-Fi, all the TV, all the voice over IP phones, all the laptops. If somebody has trouble, they call me. They call our group. So, and we're responsible for every building. So any building that has a network connection, that's me.
Thank
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Chincoteague. So I grew up on Chincoteague, which is next door to Wallops. And that's kind of how I wanted to, with my career, I wanted to go to Wallops.
Nice.
And it worked out.
What undergraduate program did you go in?
I was at, let me think, I don't know about this one, Joel. I did the electrical engineering technology here at UMES. And then after that, I got my cybersecurity master's from UMES and moved on to the network position.
If you are a high school teacher and you live near a NASA facility, please check out their education tab on their website and see what opportunities are available not only for your students but for you as well. Every center has different programs. They're always doing something, and each center will have, for instance, if you're on the lower shore, probably south of Wacomico. Wacomico's a little far. But if you're on the south end of Worcester County or in Somerset County, we have what's called an academic research experience, where usually seniors take one course off of their schedule and they come to us instead, and they step in the shoes and work side by side with a mentor, and they get that experience and they report back. They get a grade from the school. They report back to their students, and then they're usually a shoe-in for a regular high school internship. But each center will have opportunities like that, research opportunities. And the really cool thing right now is, one good thing about the pandemic, we learned how to do things virtually. And there are some programs and projects that students can work on, no matter their level, that can be done completely virtually and done well virtually. So a student does not have to be geographically tethered to the center area. And our employees aren't either. We have people in detail all over the place, even at multiple centers at the same time.
We've got a network engineer that works alongside me. All he does is network and coding. He lives in California and works for Wallops. So as far as you can get away from each other.
Yep. But please, if you have any questions or something occurs to you later, if you have a student that is hitting a wall in the system with the application process, I've just accepted a new position, so I'll be still working with the internship program. My email's there. It's my job and my joy to bring students in. And if I can't help them, I will find someone who can.
She will.
Thank you very much. Question?
Yeah, one question, which I know everybody's dying to ask, but where did they come up with the name Wallops?
It's a family name down there. Yeah, I think there's a farm down there, and there's some roads in the town. I'm from Maryland,
Yeah.
so.
And I know a lot of our areas down there, sorry, I'm trying to cut this thing off. A lot of our areas down there are named after like Indian, old Indian tribes. So like you've got, Assawoman is one of them. Everybody thinks that's funny. That's one of the names of the tribes. I think Wallops was a name of a tribe and got moved on, you know, when the family moved on, so they kind of named it after the tribes that were there. Yep.
Thank you for your time and attention.